Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a positive and productive day. My name is Kel with the Planner Aisle, and today we're discussing a few ways you can use the items in the Ivy Lee method box from Cloth and Paper. I am very familiar with this method. It was the main technique that I used in college and in grad school to a lesser degree. I don't use it anymore. I'll talk about a few reasons why later in the video, but at the time I was juggling school, work, and an internship, so it was really helpful for me during those years. It's also one of the better methods for simplifying prioritization, so I'm curious to see what items they've included here this month. Make sure to stick around until the end for my final thoughts and review, and as always, please leave me a comment below with any questions or topics that you'd like for me to include in my next video. Without further ado, let's hop in. So starting with the dust bag, this is an all black vegan leather with non-negotiable stitched on the front and then the Cloth and Paper logo on the back. They are sending one of these dust bags in each box this year, which has divided quite a lot of people. I don't use these bags, so I decided to repurpose them as gift bags, but I do like the look and feel of them. I also really like the water resistant liner on the inside. It makes it a great place to store anything with liquid or anything that's prone to spills. I personally don't think that we need 12 of these, but if you do love them and you want to use them, I've listed a few common ways that you can use them in January's review. I'll link that up in the top in case you want to check it out. So opening up our information packet, we have the member access card and the what's inside card with details on what's in the box and the April pop-up calendar. Next, we have two bookmarks. First is this little photo strip bookmark. It's a very thin, flexible paper with a nice smooth texture. You have a bit of text. At the top, it says Cloth and Paper, made for 2024, also repeated here on the right. At the bottom, you have the number for each month, and then the print mimics a photo strip. So you have a print for each month, and then February's photo circled and with care written just above that, both in red. If you are a subscriber, you'll remember last month's dashboard had a very similar style theme. Your statement print with red as the accent color, and then the circle to mark where you want to show emphasis. I do like this. The colors are simple. I'm not sure if it shows on camera, but it's got a sort of an antique brown hue to it, so it should fit in well with most color schemes. I really like this as a bookmark because it is flexible. I feel like it's less likely to get bent or damaged if you're throwing it in your work bag or something. You can also use it as a journaling card or decor, and the design makes it a really good fit for memory books or scrapbooks. I'm not sure how I'm going to use this, but for now, I'll probably just use it in my work notebook or my journal. The second is the Toi-même bookmark. This one is a white grainy cardstock with yourself printed in French over top a very self-empowering quote by Danielle Laporte, repeated across the length of the card. And then in the front, you have this little square photo print. This one is a lot taller. It's almost the same height as an A5 sheet. The back is also completely blank, minus the label here at the bottom, so you can use this to hold page flags or small sticky notes. Similar to the photo strip, you can use this in the same ways. The simplicity of the colors with the white background make this perfect for use in pretty much all of my agendas. I may use this as a background in my back pockets, or I might use it in my daily journal. In the past, I've only used line journals, but this year I really wanted a graph grid where I could write things down, but also include other things like prints or drawings or colors or anything else that I feel could help fully express how I'm feeling. I think that's where a lot of the journaling cards and other smaller paper accessories and prints like these will end up for me this year. It's a good way to make use of items that you don't use and can help paint a more complete picture of your day. Last in the packet is the monthly reflection card. So similar to the dust bag, we also received one of these last month, so they may be including one in each box this year. This month's text says one step at a time across the front with a question prompt that asks, how can you bring in more balance? So again, these are reflective. They have a mirrored front and are roughly the same size as a credit card, which makes them super portable. I do see this potentially falling into the dust bag situation where getting one each month can end up limiting the usability of them, especially because this isn't a functional accessory like sticky notes or pens or something where you can get a lot of practical use out of. Getting one in each box sort of takes away that uniqueness factor that I think a lot of us have come to love about these sub boxes, and it can also decrease the value of them. That being said, if you watch my videos, you know I'm a huge fan of repurposing things. So if we do get one of these each month and you want to find a use for them, you can always use them as gifts or throw them in your bag or other areas where you can use a mirror. For me, if I don't use them as gifts, I'll probably throw one in my work bag, backpack, travel bag, purse, Luna's bag, and my tennis bag, and then I'll probably keep one in my car, my nightstand, and my desk. Again, these are super cute and I love the messaging on them. If you're a fan of reflective decor or need a small compact mirror, this will be a nice addition to your collection. So moving on, we have one dashboard this month. This is the New Era dashboard. It's a soft white cardstock with a muted grayscale coloring on the front. At the top, it says A New Era 2024 in Cloth and Paper Co. You have a photo grid here in the middle with 8 photos of luxury items. And then at the bottom, you have a blank canvas written in French, Italian, and Spanish. This is a really nice, clean dashboard. I love the sort of elegant luxury feel to the design, and I'm definitely seeing a theme here. Cloth and Paper has been doing a lot of statement photos in their designs lately, and I'm really a fan of the style. There's something about simple black and white photography that just feels so luxurious and classy, and I don't know, it just feels like a timeless way of adding simple decor to your space. I don't know much about fashion, but if you do, you may like several of the brands photographed here. It's also very minimal in its color, which I'm always a fan of. The blacks and grays will fit in well with my main agenda, so I may end up using it behind my inbox this year, but for now, I'll keep this in my dashboard binder so it doesn't get damaged. Next, we have a set of Ivy Lee method inserts. You have 15 graph grid pages front and back, so 30 pages total, and then a demo page at the back showing you an example of how to use them. So these inserts are basically intended as worksheets to use if you use the Ivy Lee method. I touched on this a bit earlier, but the Ivy Lee method is essentially a productivity technique that's used to help you complete your tasks as efficiently as possible. So using this strategy, at the end of each day, you write down the 6 most important tasks that you need to accomplish the next day in order of importance. Then the next morning, you start your day by focusing on the first task first until it's completed before moving on to the next one. Then at the end of the day, you complete a new list and repeat the process over again. As you can see, one of the main goals of the Ivy Lee method is to reduce multitasking, which is extremely difficult to do, but studies do show that multitasking hinders productivity quite a bit. So the Ivy Lee method is a really great technique to try, especially if you're looking for a sort of structured way to hone your focus on one task at a time. So hopping back to the inserts, you have a date box at the top and then your activity grid. On the left, you have a column with 6 boxes for your 6 tasks in order of importance. And then on the right-hand side, you have an open grid where you can write notes, reflections, add bullet points, or anything else related to the task that you need to complete. So looking at the demo sheet here, this is a really good example of how this method would be used during the day. So here you have your client meeting prep as your first priority and writing your blog article as the least priority. Using the Ivy Lee technique means that you would prep for your client meeting first and then hop on your Zoom call, exercise, update your planner, and then write your blog post in that order. So let's say that your Zoom call runs over, you would follow the rest of your day in this same order because this is the list of prioritization that you laid out in the beginning. If you do run out of time at the end of the day, and let's say you don't get to do your blog post, then you would move it to the next day and rank it a new priority level depending on what your tasks are for that day. The purpose of this technique is to give your tasks and your day more structure so you can focus on completing your most crucial items first without having to worry about what you should be working on first or second because you already prioritized those tasks the day before. I did use this method a lot throughout school, mainly with assignments. I would prioritize my days by what exams were coming up, and it did really help maximize my time around study and prep. I don't use this method anymore, although it's a great system for identifying the things that are most important, and it's super easy to follow and implement. The downside is that depending on your role, this method may not be the most practical. So if you're in a job where you have a lot of unexpected tasks that come up, or if you're working on a complex project or something with a lot of moving pieces, this technique will probably not work for you. Another limitation, which happens in my role quite a bit, is if you're working on something that requires collaboration or input from another party. In that case, it can be really difficult to wait to move to another task because it can take hours or days until it's fully completed. Ultimately, whether or not you should use this method will depend on your role, personal preference, and the nature of work that you're managing. The good news is that if you don't want to use the Ivy Lee technique, these inserts will work for just about anything. Maybe one of your goals is to plan out your meals 4 to 6 days a week, or maybe you want to log exercise 3 or 4 days a week. You can use this as a reading log, plan out projects, or maybe a goal or a mood tracker. That's the great thing about blank layouts like this. There are so many ways that you can use them in your routine. The other thing that I like about this one is that you have designated boxes and then a large open area. So this naturally will support things that do well with categorization. So maybe separating classes or nutrition focus areas, for example. I'm not sure how I'm going to use these yet. I love getting inserts, but I am dialing back a lot of the non-necessity items in my planner this year. So for now, like the dashboard, I'll keep them close by in case I decide to use it for something down the road. The next item is the Ivy Lee Method sticky note. This is a really neat and versatile little notepad. You have this gray sort of wraparound cardstock with a set of Ivy Lee sticky notes inside. On the outside, you have Ivy Lee Method with a 4-step guide to implement this technique, and then opening it up, you have your set of sticky notes. You have a date field at the top, and then an area to list your task, rate the priority that you're giving it, and then a place to mark when it's complete. So the way this is set up lets you use it in a few different ways. You can leave it just like this and use it as a little booklet. There are several perforations on here, so it looks like you can remove the flap so you won't have this wraparound portion. You can also take off the cover altogether and just have your sticky notes visible. If you do that, then you can use the cover as a journaling card by itself, or use it as a journaling card sticky note combo and put a sticky note on the back and utilize it as a task check-in and overview during your workday. This is such a great tool for anyone using this method. It's small and minimal and easy to carry around. If you go the journaling card route, it can easily slide into most planner pockets, even a smaller planner like personal size. If you don't use this method, you can remove the cover and just use the sticky notes as a regular task pad. That's what I plan on using it for. I might even stick it on my fridge so I can jot down little things that I think of as I'm cleaning, or to write things that I need to remember to do when I'm not around my planner or my phone. If you don't want to use it at all, this would make a really nice gift if you have kids in school or are looking for little graduation presents, especially for those around junior high or high school age. This could be something that they can really put to use and get some functional benefit from. The next item is this still stencil and ruler. I will go ahead and say this now. This wins the year for me. I saw this on the Cloth and Paper Instagram page and my heart got so happy. This is a 6-inch brushed steel ruler with a rounded tip line, a box, and a circle. The number of ways that you can use this is endless. So first of all, this is pretty heavy. It's got some weight to it, and it's also very sturdy, so you're not going to get any bending or anything. It's also super thin, so if you did want to carry this in a planner pocket, it's something that you could do. You also have notches, including 1/2-inch notches on the side here that are perfect for measuring out lines or sections on your page. And then you have my favorite feature, which is the line and symbols here. I use checklists all the time, primarily in my schedule section, but I also plan to use it in my bullet journal as well. This allows you to set up your spreads and mark off your sections with ease without having to grab multiple different tools to do so. It's also brushed steel, so you don't have to worry as much about ink transfer or fading. The print on here is etched into the steel. It doesn't sit on top, so unlike many rulers, you don't have to worry about the notches disappearing as easily. The only thing that I have a tiny issue with, and this is probably just me being nitpicky, but the way that the line is positioned, it doesn't allow you to mark your line and symbol on the same line at the same time. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I'm making a line and a checkbox below each other, because the line is positioned in the middle of the symbols, it always ends up being off center. To get them to line up, you have to pick up and move the ruler, which does waste some time. Again, this is probably just me being nitpicky, but if you are using this to build your own planner spreads, or if you're using it to build checklists or trackers, you can end up spending a lot of time having to move this back and forth, but again, very minor. Another way I plan to use this is to cut washi or sticky notes with my snipping tool. I have tons of plastic rulers that have nicks in them from accidentally cutting into them. This will single-handedly solve that problem. Because it has some weight to it, it will also be great for tearing washi, which I tend to do a lot when I'm planning very quickly and I don't feel like pulling out scissors or anything. Because it's heavy and the edge is relatively thin and sharp, you can just pull the tape up by the side for a quick fix. I originally wanted to carry this in my planner, but I didn't realize it would be this heavy, so I'm kind of second guessing that now. I may throw it in there and see how I like it. If it's more weight than I'm comfortable with, then I'll just leave it in my main desk drawer. I'd love to know how y'all plan to use yours, so please comment down below and let me know. The next item they included this month is the Moments sticky note set. You have the same gray cover that's on the Ivy Lee method stickies with Take a Moment embossed on the front. Opening it up, you have 2 packs of sticky notes, one in the color Concrete and the other in the color Pimento. So I'm always a fan of sticky notes. I feel like I go through them like I go through water. I really like the colors that they chose here. Concrete is a really light grayish tan color, very neutral, very subtle. And then you have Pimento, which is this really bold, burnt reddish orange color. I like this for anything that you need to write that needs to stand out for whatever reason. Maybe there's something with a deadline or an urgent request you need to respond to. I don't have any color like this in my collection, so I'm definitely going to put this to use in my office when I'm taking notes. It comes in this little book style pad, which is cute and nice if you want to use these together. They have it styled to look similar to a Polaroid, so it looks like the sticky note here is where the photo would be. If you don't want the cover but you want to keep the background, you can just pop them out of these little photo corners that they have here. I'm not personally a fan of photo sets or the backgrounds. They just take up a lot of space in my drawer. I always end up taking the sticky pads off and just storing them with the rest of my sticky notes. But if you are a fan of sets or if you like the design, this is a really good way to carry them together and make sure that they stay intact. The last item we have this month is this set of pens. So first we have the Deli SA261 Erasable Press Gel Pen. This one is all white and has a 0.5mm tip. So doing a pen test here, this one writes really smooth, there's no skipping or anything. It's not super pigmented, but that's pretty much expected with erasable pens. The dry time is pretty standard as well, so you don't have to worry too much about smearing. Testing the eraser here, it's also pretty standard. It doesn't erase everything perfectly, but it does remove most of the ink, so you can rewrite something over it if you choose to do so. Second, we have the Monami Live Color Twin Marker in the color Plum Dandy. On one end, you have a 2mm felt chisel tip, and on the other, you have a 0.4mm nib. So looking at the thin tip first, it writes really nice. There's also no skipping. This is a 0.4mm tip, so it does write super thin, but you can use this as a normal pen in your planner or in your journal or supplemental planners to add some color. On the other side, you have your wider tip. This also writes very nicely because you do have a wider vertical. You can of course use this for highlighting and sketching. The felt here is really tight, which gives you a lot of control of your drawings. I'm also a fan of this color. It is purple, but it's more of a muted earthy purple, not really a bright purple, so it can blend into neutral palettes really well. I'm glad the Cloth and Paper included pens this month. I know a lot of people like to try out different writing utensils. I'm not a fan of switching up pens all that often. I'm more of a tried and true pen girl and will basically use 1 or 2 pens until I happen across one that I end up liking better, but it's nice that they did pop 2 in here for us to try. And that wraps up the Ivy Lee Method box from Cloth and Paper. Overall, I really enjoyed this box. For some reason, I feel like we got a lot of items this month. There are some specific items that fit the Ivy Lee theme perfectly, and they also included more generalized items as well for those who don't use the Ivy Lee technique. My favorite item this month is the steel ruler. This is a multifunctional tool that I will likely use several times a week in my main planner and my bullet journal, and is honestly an accessory that I would purchase separately so I could have 2 if they offer it on their site. On the opposite side, my least favorite item this month is the monthly reflection card. I just don't need another tiny mirror. The first one was cute and original, but having 12 of these total seems like a little bit of an overkill. Like I mentioned earlier, because these are small, I do plan to throw these in all of my bags, so I am repurposing them, but I would like to see less repetitive items and more of the unique functional accessories that Cloth and Paper is known for. All in all, I'm rating the February box an 8.2 out of 10. Although they did give us some repetitive items, they included a few extra accessories as well. They also provided several things that fit the Ivy Lee theme really nicely, which is great for those who are implementing this method. We got more sticky notes and this really nice steel ruler, which is super versatile and will be a staple in my functional planning routine. And that is it, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more planning and organizational content, please hit that like button and subscribe. You would help my channel out a lot. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram for more planner tips and inspo, sending positive vibes your way. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day.